Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our second episode of Digging for Dollars, a show about deals. Rapid fire format where Matt and I just shoot the shit about deals for 30 minutes. How are you, Matt?
That's the best intro. I'm doing great. Can't wait to shoot the shit some more.
Awesome. First topic, assets in odd places. So we know that all the tier 1 deposits have been found in the more mature jurisdictions, I imagine. Canada, Nevada, Australia, they're all gone. So what does that force us to do? Venture into the frontier.
It's a bold.
Underexplored countries where, just because the border stopped doesn't mean the geology does. So we're looking at places where, not a lot of people have been to. However, what does that mean? You can pick up swaths of land, huge district-sized scale projects for pennies on the dollar, extreme upside, and who does it best? The juniors. So do you have any companies with assets in odd places?
All right. So first deal. We're going to stick early on. Let's stick with our portfolio and names that we know. Sooner, as we go through new deals and we hear new things, we'll bring up like, oh, this is an interesting asset in a different place. But we're going to start off with a deal you brought to the table and we're quite excited about, mostly because it was 5 cents and it was in Fiji.
I've never lost money on 5-cent paper, Matt.
Has anyone? So this deal, Kalo Gold. Do you want to tell us about Kalo Gold?
Yeah, Kalo Gold. So we always knew about the Pacific Ring of Fire. This was brought to us by a boutique merchant bank, 3L Capital, who you're friends with, Mark Souvenir. Is it a newer shop that specializes in? Yeah,
Mark was an old Sprott guy, and then they're ripping it right now. They're doing a tectonics big deal, this big upsize thing right now, that's been a really exciting deal that people are following right now. Mark's they're doing a great job. They've really done a big thing in West Africa. So we've supported them on a lot of different things. It's been a nice relationship. Steve and their analyst there has been great. And so they did Kalo here.
So Kalo, it has been around, and you can see that in the cap structure. However, they just raised $6 million with Silver Corp and Crescat as their lead. They're operating in what you said, Fiji, a huge project, 300 square kilometers, and they're searching for epithermal gold. And so we know that can be complicated. However, they do have the money to hopefully prove it out. Historically, they've pulled out some very high grade core. For example, 10 meters of 30, 6 meters of 16, and 9 meters of 36. So the smoke is all there. They just need to go out there and see if it all hangs together. As I said before, it's not in a jurisdiction where it's too frontier. There's a lot of players already on the island. You have Lion 1 in the development stage, but you also have, who else is out there? Newmont, I think, has a project.
Lion 1 was a big Quinton thing for a while. Do you remember when that was like $500 million market cap? It got really going. I don't know if there's a lot of people. There's like 2 islands of Fiji, as I remember. I think they're like on the other one. It's kind of like, it was the Pacific, neither have I, but the map that they show, I think there's a second one. It's kind of like the Discovery Group guys' new deal in PNG, which is not on the K92 main island of PNG. It's kind of like on the next one over. So they're like, yeah, it's much more chill. Huge grades here. I think a 20 million market cap or something, 300 million shares out, 6.5, something like that. So 17 million. So they have 5 million in cash. That deal, though, took really long time. I always get nervous when there's it's like 5 months of an open financing, but it seemed to do okay.
Why do you think Silvercorp took a piece of it?
It's a good asset, I want to say. I know that it was Silvercorp and Crescat, right? So they put and obviously Quinton knows the island really well because of Lion 1. I don't know. It's really interesting. I think they just finished some drilling. They're gonna have assays that are coming out. But man, some of those historic hits, like 10 meters of 27 grams, 7 of 16, all these different things, big land package. So
I believe they have finished a little bit over 1,300 meters. They're planning for 9,000 in total. So, we'll see What happens? Maybe this can be a make or break, but that's not the segment.
I hope it's making. We played that deal. Yeah, I hope it's making.
I hope it's making as well. So what else do we have in the portfolio?
Let's go around the world, halfway around the world from Fiji. We're going to go to the country of Gabon. Okay, so Gabon has these huge seismic surveys done, and all you really need to know is that there's a bunch of seismic survey data done. There is a potash resource of 2 billion tons. Potash comes in a lot. The potash resources are big. And then, so there's potash, there's big seismic surveys showing you where all of these seams are, which carry the potash. And then there's this guy, Farhad. And Farhad has sold, I don't know, 6 companies, 4 companies, I don't know, so many. Lithium, sold a uranium company, 2 potash companies, and a lithium company. And the team that stayed together on the last one, from Millennial Lithium, I think it was called, went to this. And one of his assets that he sold was called Alana, a company called Alana, which was one of my first things I saw in 2009. And it sold for $200 million potash in Ethiopia. And potash is a big thing for Canada. If you're following tariffs and all these things, you know, potash is necessary for about 98% of all farmers in Northern America. Comes from Saskatchewan, very high grade there, really good beds. And this is in Gabon near a port, but Gabon is a very unknown place to work. There was a civil uprising, I think, last year, but Farhad is there. He's like, this matters. Stock has ripped because the seismic survey showed you where these like 300 meter thick seams of potash are. So now there's like endless potash. Just, it doesn't matter what, just a lot. So stock ran from 30 cents. We played at 30 cents to $1.70. They just raised $10 million, $1.55. I think insiders wrote $4 million. So that's interesting story. Potash development in Gabon, West Africa.
All right. So potash in Gabon. Asset in a weird place. Let's move on to our third
asset in weird place. This one's, so when I started, I don't know what it was like with you. When I started, there was a rule: no China, no Russia, and no stands. So there are 7 stands, for those who don't know. And one of the stands is very large and produces the most uranium in the entire world, Kazakhstan. And so geology there is wonderful, but the stand's very hard to work, different governments, and there's been a push recently into Kazakhstan by seniors, Barrick, Tech, and a junior there called Arras has this strategic alliance with Tech. We played in this deal. They raised $15 million at about 85 cents with no warrant. They have like the best copper porphyry geology anywhere. It's insane. It's like these 2 trends are 10 plus kilometers. They have drill holes, I don't know, 600 meters of 0.7% equivalent. And they just started there. And, it's this giant thing. So to your point, if tier 1 assets in normal places are gone, like if you go to Chile, a lot of these porphyries are gone. This is a new place, and it's worth, I don't know, about $100 million. So they have 15 million in the bank. It's worth about $100 million. They just added a second drill rig, and they did this giant geophysical survey. And it's one of those things that if you're comfortable with the jurisdiction, the opportunity here seems as big as anything you could find anywhere for copper. And I think that's why people jumped in. But if you're not comfortable with the jurisdiction, then you're never going to touch it. So that is asset in weird place. Drill results are coming. Tech owns 9.9. Good cash in the bank. Not a lot of warrant overhang. Super interesting story. We own it just because it's, you almost, if you like copper, it's almost one that you kind of have to own. Just a little bit of. There's the final 3 of the assets in weird places.
Well, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I do want to talk about copper porphyries, and it is in a weird spot when you think about it, right? And this is your company and your project, the Sioux Project, a porphyry in Ontario. So the asset is, I would still consider it in a weird place, and I'm forcing it maybe, but we're still going to talk about it.
A lot of different geologists, our very own Vincent, when I told him that we had a porphyry in Ontario, told me that I was like high and was like, no way, there are no copper porphyries in Ontario, because generally there aren't. And so you can be in a weird place in the world geographically, but not geologically. So Fiji very geologically makes sense, right? Like geologically makes sense. Here, with Sterling, but it's a weird place to be as an island. So here at Sterling, you're in mining country of Northern Ontario. So lots of gold, right? Timmins, Wawas, Kirkland Lake. But then you have Sudbury, where there's a lot of base metals operating for the last 150 years, but different geology. This is a copper porphyry, bona fide, just like you'd find anywhere in porphyry country. But unlike a lot of the ages that are a lot younger, it's 1 billion years old. And so there's a lot of complications to go with it. But we drilled, we had that 400 meter, 350 meter hit of 0.36 equivalent, 0.26 copper. So like kind of lower grades, but you have this porphyry system and a lot of big grade intervals in it. And the thought process is that you have the mid-continent rift, which is billions of tons of copper and nickel, which surrounds Lake Superior. And it's created this porphyry, this like rock that's pushed through where we are, where there's 2 old mines. And so we're drilling, about 5,000 meters right now. And if we can show that these porphyries that we've already hit, if this gets bigger, like there's, their classic feeder, the same thing in our last segment when we talked about Kingfisher, drill deeper. I mean, when we talk about Philo, it's like drill deeper. Everything, porphyries are like, the third cycle. You're like, let's just keep going down. This is no different. Phelps Dodge was there drilling for Molly in the 60s. Noranda's been there. And so you have all of these hits, and it's like, look, there's copper for kilometer by kilometers and 30-kilometer copper system around it. And so geologically, super strange that there would be a porphyry here. But copper-wise, very, very interesting as a rift-related rift system goes. And so we're going to be drilling it out, and hopefully we find this higher grade feeder core. So you have like this nice bulk tonnage thing at surface, and then something that's much bigger and better as you kind of go down. So really exciting project. Our guy Neil O'Brien, who's very instrumental in the Vicuña district with Lundin and GX and Philo. So good knowledge there. So it'll be really fun to watch that kind of take place here, and we're drilling now. Very
exciting. So let's hit that high grade zone and off to the races.
I hope they cooperate. That's all I say now. Hopefully the rocks cooperate.
Well, we'll see what Mother Nature does for us, but I feel it. You mentioned Kirkland Lake, and I think it's Transition City now because our guest for the show is our very own Stefan Sklepowicz. We call him Steph. And, he's a seasoned business executive. He has a keen mind for business development, financing, strategy, and developing partnerships, which is much needed in our sector to get anything done. And, he's played a key role in shaping our company. He's been with us for a while, and, very happy to have him on the show as our second guest. Steph, how's it going, man?
Good.
All right, Steph, what's going on? You're doing some exciting things as well. It's been quite the long haul, and now we're here. We're on the cut, and this is why we're in the game. You're drilling.
Yes, exactly. It's been a build up over the last 2 years to get to this point with KLDC, which is a really exciting, turning point to be at. Market's finally paying attention, which is a lot of fun. It's not just necessarily because we're drilling, people are understanding the district scale, the size of it, and the rocks that matter, so like you guys were talking about exploring in different areas that, have been overlooked for certain reasons. And for us, it's, the Blake River group of rocks. They're incredibly well endowed on the Quebec side of the border, just because there's a man-made border there that somebody decided, hey, this is where we're putting this line. It doesn't mean that the rocks don't continue onto the other side. And so that's been our underlying thesis this whole time. And we're finally getting to a point where we get to test that theory.
So how did we get here, Steph? Like you mentioned that it was a while in the making. Like, what was the inception and why are we so excited now? Well, you did mention why we're excited, but how did we get here?
Well, the company's been building this land position for 8 years, realistically. It started out just kind of as a postage stamp of some high-grade old workings, which are still of interest, but that they've kind of taken a back burner, and slowly accumulated more and more pieces of land. And then 2 years ago, Newfound Gold vended in the Lucky Strike property, which was a large chunk of land just east of Kirkland Lake. And they put that together with Warrior Gold. And at that point in time, that's when Kirkland Lake Discoveries was born. And I joined the story to kind of help out and guide. And realistically, what we ended up doing was taking a step back and looking at it from the standpoint of we need large-scale geochemistry over this large land package because we have 40,000 hectares. It's hard to just pick a spot and go with it. And so last year we did 6,000 soil samples over the property, and then it ends up showing these anomalies surrounding this intrusion, and that led us down that pathway of looking at it from a standpoint of, okay, so does this intrusion matter? And when you have elevated copper, bismuth, moly, tellurium, gold all around it, you start looking at it closer, and that's where we brought in the Winnie Lake property, which is where we're currently working. And so that was an option that we did in the spring, which had some historic drilling of high-grade copper and zinc with a gold kicker over about 22 meters. So they approached it in a way that was looking at it as a VMS type of system. We don't think it's that. We think it's more based off the intrusion, especially with all those soils that showed everything else that was going on. And so we're approaching it a lot differently. And the work that was done this spring is what's really kicked off this run that we've had over the last month, realistically. Because we did channel sampling throughout the intrusion, and they came back with highly elevated bismuth, so like 35 grams per ton over 17 meters. We had a grab sample of over 1,000 grams per ton bismuth, and then the thing that I got most excited about was within the intrusion it was like a magnetite blob, and with massive sulfides attached to it. And so when we did channel sampling across that, we got 2.7% copper, some zinc, some gold, but it was within the intrusion. And so that's what made it more real for us that we were chasing an intrusion-based system, because it wasn't on the contact, it was inside the intrusion. And so that just changes the way that we're approaching things and looking at stuff. So it's really exciting time.
All right, that was awesome. But so taking that, just grabbing from that. So what does that mean? So if I'm going from VMS, right? So VMS, I think Lalor, I think Snow Lake, and then if I think intrusion related, what am I thinking of now? What's the difference? Like just like context.
The ROND is an intrusion-based system, so it's a VMS that's been influenced by an intrusion, and so you see that. And the deeper portions of that deposit, they have higher grade gold that goes into it. And the intrusion is what influenced that. It pushed mineralization into it. So basically, we just think of it as like the heat engine. So it's something that drove mineralization, and it kind of gives us a source to search from. Is the easiest way to kind of look at it.
And LaRonde is like 300, they're still doing like 250, 300,000 ounces a year, aren't they? Something very big there. Yeah. Okay. I saw Foran in their deck. Foran was pitching LaRonde as a comp and then Kid Creek as a comp. Is that the same kind of idea? Is that
Yeah.
So I'm learning here. So the monsters that we're thinking about here, Kid Creek, LaRonde, Foran, that's what we're thinking of here. That's your comparable versus, no disrespect to VMS, but VMS can be very difficult because it's so potty and it kind of keeps going. So these are much bigger. That's kind of the idea.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what got us more excited about it, because it's like, yeah, that's a decent hole, but if you can't figure out where the source is or where it's coming from, it's almost useless, right?
Got it. Very cool. Okay. That's fun. And so you guys are drilling now?
We are, yes. So we've been drilling for about a week. Very busy. We got the Chibougamau drillers from Quebec who are just killing it. Like those guys know what to do. They're doing 100 to 200 meters a day. It's insane. The efficiency is incredible of that program, and I always forget how cheap our drilling is comparatively to a lot of people. But because we're so close to the Quebec border, we had 10 people bid on the project, and we didn't pick the lowest price, but we picked the one with best reputation, who was going to get the job done at a reasonable cost. So for us, it's like you get the pick of the litter with dirt cheap costs for drilling.
Have you done a drill program like this before?
Yeah, we did. With Planet, we did some drilling. This is this is so much more efficient, so much more fun. The infrastructure that we have set up at the actual the work site. We have a full trailer for cutting core logging, all that stuff. It's all set up to be a much more enjoyable experience. Like when I was with Planet, it was such a small operation. We literally had a tent set up outside in the middle of winter with a heater driving heat into it so that it would melt the water so that we could actually cut the core. Like, it was
Intense.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a little easier. Kirkland's a little easier, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, so Kirkland Lake Discoveries, ticker KLDC.
Market cap right now?
Oh, it's been a busy day. I think we're up to 13.5.
Who was the newsletter that came out? Who's that was the best newsletter. That was the quickest promotion on I've never seen the reaction. Who was that again? That shout out deserved.
Mining Stock Pro. He has a Substack. So he wrote that article. No interaction with him from me up to that point in time. He found our story, fell in love with it. Absolutely blown away by the land package that was accumulated, the proximity to the majors and the camp. And he was like, "This is the stupidest market cap for what these guys are holding and what they're doing." So did an incredible write-up. He just did another write-up, kind of an update after we announced drilling. So yeah, amazing support from that guy.
That's unreal. It's like the volume that came in, the push, it was so fun. As you know, as big shareholders, it's great.
But you did a lot of work to get in front of these prospective investors, right? Because you have how often are you putting out your adventures on that video basis? Because you took a cool approach in disseminating your news and what you were up to. And, you kept on doing it, maybe not a lot of traction initially, but that's what you have to do to get your story out there, right?
Yeah, exactly. So for me as a junior mining investor, the number of times where I've been following a story and then it just was radio silent, and then 3 months later they put out a press release, and it's so frustrating not knowing what's actually going on. I was like, I'm going to do things differently, and we're going to do the Treasure Hunter series, which basically just brings people along for the ride so they can see us in the bush. They can see me in Quebec, doing the meetings or whatever it may be. So we try to put them out every 2 weeks, kind of at the most. When things are busy, we try to do them a little bit more often. But it's balancing those two things where it's like, we got work to do and we want to show you what we're doing. So yeah, I get the guys to wear GoPros while they're pulling core from the drill, and we have to disclose that we're doing that. So we just kind of get around it by doing a press release showing this is what we're talking about, and then we can actually go through the video so that we're disclosing everything as it's happening, for any material type of stuff.
So is the next episode going to be looking at the core as it comes out, and is it sitting in the core box?
You got it.
What? That's wild.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing, is that it might be bad, it might be good, but it is what it is. It's like the whole point for me was that you can experience exactly what we go through. Because when we found that drill hole at Winnie Lake, that was actually the one that did it for me, where I was like, if somebody was looking over my shoulder when I found that and was like, my God, this thing is here, and this is situated right where we're looking, and we have all these anomalies. If this is in any of these other anomalies, then this is insane. And so if somebody had been there when we made that discovery of finding that, I was like, man, they would have come along for the ride too. They would have been like, let's go. This is so cool. So it is a lot of work, and it's definitely something that is challenging as an operator. So it's going through and figuring out, okay, where can we go? What can we not do? What can we not say? And then how can we release that to be able to continue to do and to have that vision to be able to disclose as much as possible. But yeah, that's the whole point of it, is to literally see the core.
That's so interesting. I was just on our last segment, we talked about Kingfisher, which just came out with this porphyry hit. I usually am not into visuals just because so many things get misrepresented, because you think something's there and it's not, and something's not there and it is. And so I like to get the data first. But Kingfisher put out this great press release about visuals, and they were very honest. They're like, look, this is what we got, and here it is. So this is like a whole step above that. That's fascinating. I will be tuning in to watch that. That's must-watch TV. So KLDC, Treasure Hunters, watch whenever that comes out, because that's very cool.
How do you release it? Just on your website and emailer and our website? Yeah.
So YouTube, and then we'll have links on all our socials. So yeah, it's fun though, because we have like a consistent 300 to 500 person viewership. So it's not this massive viewership. We don't have 10,000 people, but the people that are following along with that story, like I get phone calls every week when we put one out being like, okay, so tell me about this, da, 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 da. And they're asking like very specific questions. When I've sat in one of our First Nation meetings, the guy was like, yeah, no, you don't have to tell me anything. Like I've watched all the episodes. I know exactly what's going on. So let's just shoot the shit. And I was like, okay, this is cool.
That's very cool, man. Well, congrats on that. That is a very, that is a lot of work. I know I run a company. I know how much work that must be because already running a company is a lot of work. So videos are great. I can't wait to see what happens here. That's cool. So moving on to our
segment called Dig This Deal. All right, Steph. So in this segment, we each are going to pitch a stock. You have 30 seconds to do so.
I was like, 30 seconds, I can barely even put my words together. Give me a bit
supposed
of
to
time
be an elevator pitch, man. It's a true elevator ride. That's the idea.
You have maximum 1 minute to pitch a stock. You can't mention the name in it, but you do have to say the market cap. And at the end of it, Matt and I, or the other two, will decide if we dig it or if we undig it. Or maybe we need to do more digging.
And this has to be a stock that I hold, correct?
No, but it's better if you hold it.
Okay, so this company is a district scale exploration play. They control over 650 kilometers squared. There's two focuses of this company. One is orogenic gold. So they have done drilling on this orogenic system where they drilled 11.8 grams per ton over 6 meters. They have grab samples up to 4,485 grams per ton gold, tills up to 1,049 gold grains, and there's a 30-kilometer trend that they are calling prospective ground. And if gold doesn't wet your whistle and you're more of a critical metals kind of guy, they also hold ground adjacent to a past producing VMS mine. And recent interpretation shows mineralized trend going towards their ground in a deeper setting than what was previously explored. The other kicker for me that got me excited about this is the insiders have bought 5% of the company in the public market over the last year, and an additional 5% via private placement. Market cap is 9.4 million.
Wow. Cool.
I dig it.
Cool. That was a good pitch. What?
We can ask some questions. Cash?
So they did there's a VMS fund that just recently signed a joint venture for up to $11 million with them to do exploration. So they have access to $11 million for that, but the percentage of ownership changes based off of how much money goes in, obviously.
Digging in. Perfect. Cool. Right. That'll be a fun one. That's good. I like that. Steph, you came hard with the first time we did this. Cejay talked about a $600 million market cap. That deal.
And I was like, my general nature is high risk, high reward. That's what I like.
Agnico. Great. That's why we're listening to this.
I've got a deal for you guys. I too have a district size play. Next time I'm not going to mention it because it's becoming a little bit too cliche, but all good exploration companies have district size potential. Can we agree? No?
They have to be, yeah.
I think so. In this cycle, everyone's tired of these one little project plays. They want potential for multiple projects on it.
Scale is good. Scale is always good. I'm with you. Unless you have an asset that's already good.
My company is a district size play. They just closed $3 million, post money valuation of $15 million. So you want upside? This has upside. In a great mining jurisdiction in a country that's not very well known for mining. They took a project that was dropped by a very well-known, say, mid-tier producer. They dropped it because they made some major acquisitions where they had to kind of pivot away from the non-core. However, when they did drill it out, they were drilling out, 12 meters of 11 grams per ton, 13 meters of 9.9. So these new operators picked up the land and they have all of this land to work with, and they're approaching it very systematically, presenting the story to other, more astute investors out there. They're able to get backing from some major names in the story, and it being private is just, just shows you that, there is interest out there in just the project alone, and, it's a good project, not just a good stock. So that was my pitch.
Am I in Uruguay?
Maybe, maybe not.
You get bonus points, Steph, if you can guess the company.
I don't know. I'm like, oh, there's familiarities here, but then it was a private, and I was like, wait a minute. Now
So
I don't know.
they did a huge sampling program. They're doing 4,000 meters of trenching right now. You know, the trenching yielded 25 meters of 6 grams per ton. Post money after the raise of 15 million Canadian. Incubated in the Boswell Capital Office, if you know them. They've put together a bunch of other companies, but you know, it's run by a very smart geologist.
I'm digging into this one. I don't need to. I already know this one, but I am digging into this asset constantly. Yes, I'm digging in. This is my digging in. I'm in the middle.
I dig.
Dig?
Dig.
I'm 2 for 2 with the guests, by the way.
That was a good one. That's a good one. I'm gonna pitch this a little bit differently. Right? I'm in the jungle, in a country that doesn't have a ton of mining, but geologically is very, very good. I am river and air access only. I have a 4.5 kilometer long series of artisanal pits and artisanal shafts going down 80 meters with locals mining and mining contracting across this 4.5 kilometer strike. I have a 5.5 meters of 35 gram trench that just got released. I have $8 million backed by some serious gold people at 40 cents with no warrant, a $30 million market cap, and my stock is at 55. I have 2 rigs on the property ready to drill underneath these 70-meter areas of saprolite, finding the gold source host. The chairman of this company is also in Founders Gold and says it is a replica. 30 million cap.
What's going to happen to all the artisanals?
Saprolite, very close to my heart. I had like 2,000 miners mining the saprolite when I joined my company in Paraguay. One of the great things about saprolite is, it's like clay. There are 4 mining contractors. It's 4 families. All the government seems very friendly, actually, because it is not so easy to get there. So you can't have this influx of people from everywhere that kind of do it. So far, it seems very civil.
Okay, so good community ties.
Good ties.
You got me concerned with the jungle.
That's the. There is your kicker, my friend.
Yeah, I don't think I dig it. I'd be curious to hear more, but
You don't want to do more digging?
Don't dig, Steph. All right, likes his safe jurisdictions.
I do. That's one of my biggest things is I don't go into the deep bush, or like having just gotten back from Bolivia and seeing how things are there, it solidifies my viewpoint of safe jurisdictions are paramount.
Okay, so no philo or NGX for you in the mountains of Argentina when no one touched Argentina. Fair.
He didn't say mountains, he said jungle.
I said jungle, yeah.
Safe jurisdictions. Argentina was, well, I guess Argentina is pretty safe, but Argentina was a terrible place to have an asset.
I'm going to give you a dig it.
Wow. Well, we own it. Okay, so I'll spin mine around. So the name that I was pitching was Sranan, which is in Suriname, which is about 50 kilometers, something like that. Anyway, relatively close on trend to Founders. The guys have been there for about 20 years in Suriname. I am with you on it is literally the jungle. It's like they have like boat in their drill. Camp built 500 person community. The locals is like a 500 person community around it. When they raised $8 million recently at 40 cents. Very like the best, like really amazing investors came in. 2 rigs on site, starting to drill 5.5 meters of 40 gram gold in a trench. When these guys are mining down to 80 meters, I am stoked to see what they drill, because if I have local miners mining down to 80 meters in Suriname in a shaft, that like the gold must be very, very, very good. So I'm super curious to see what happens here, because that's fun. Founder's been a great story. Right?
So they're drilling right now.
I think that they're about to start turning the rigs.
Okay.
What's yours?
I think they used to hold it. It's a private company called Sun Valley.
Sun Valley, that's it.
Sun Valley.
Steph, what's your 9.4 million market cap?
Canstar Resources.
Canstar, all right.
So they've had quite a change of guard over the last year. So JP Austin came in as a director, and then JC Garon, I think it is. So like Paul Austin, JC Garon. So they've taken a much different approach. They're doing good science. It's all been about figuring it out properly going forward. So it's much like our story, where it was at a certain point, has pulled back, and now they're just focusing on science to really build it up and do it properly. And that's what gets me most excited about it. Is
Canstar was Rob Bruggerman before, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. So he stepped away for, I think it's Abra.
He's the chairman of it.
Yeah, so he's just focused on that. And that's when everything changed, was when he stepped away, because it seemed like it was just a secondary project for him, no focus. And now it's actually getting some decent love, and these guys they're buying it. So,
well, there you go, everyone. Sranan, Sun Valley Private, and Canstar. Fun new digging for deals. Steph, thanks a lot, buddy.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is fun.
That was awesome.
Talk to you soon, buddy.
Okay, see you guys.
So it's odd because we knew Steph's company. I would say not the new and revamped one, but when you distill it and you just talk about the project and remove everything else from it, gets pretty exciting again, eh?
Yeah, you know, I mean, like, when you have Denny and Steph and Christina and everyone's excited about the geology and Vin, and, you know, you got a lot of good minds there, right? So, obviously we're biased because it's people who are close to us, but I did not know that he was going to continue the Treasure Hunter series with pics of core and videos. That is so fascinating because they are going after massive sulfides, and massive sulfides are very visual. You do not mess up when you see massive sulfides. You know exactly what they look like. You don't wonder. And disseminated can be a little bit harder. But like sphalerite is the zinc, like it's yellow, and chalcopyrite is yellow, and it's like you see these things. So that is must-watch TV if you are a Kirkland Lake support shareholder. That's going to be that's really interesting. It's so much work. I can't believe he does it all the time. They're great videos. They're done so well. They're so well produced.
Yeah.
All right. So Canstar. Yeah, I hadn't seen that in a little while. They have a gold thing beside. They were beside something that really, like Marathon, I think, or whatever it is now. So
well, they're further along the trend on the south side of Newfound Gold, but it's something that I dig it. Plus, I have to do more digging into it.
I think like it's almost like we're changing it to digging in or no dig. Because like you should never just say yes. You should, like, I dig it as digging in, right? Like I want to go learn more, right? I do want to learn more about new Canstar for sure. Yeah, that was a good one.
Okay, good. That's a wrap. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Cejay. Next time.